In studio, some new friends, but in some ways familiar because they represent a denomination I was with for many years, and that's the Foursquare Church. I went to New Life Center in Everett for many years. Tom Ferguson was my main pastor, if you remember him. Randy Remington, also pastor, who's now the head of the Foursquare Church. We have Steve and Jen McConnell from Seattle Foursquare Church. Hi, folks. Good to get to know you.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Got you in studio. Kind of a strange subject, a difficult subject, but you guys are really having an impact in the Aurora area. Now, tell us a little bit about yourselves. You've been with Seattle Foursquare for how long?
We have been there now just over 3 years. Mm-hmm. Easter was our 3-year mark.
We co-pastor.
Mm-hmm.
So we co-pastor. We actually preach together every Sunday.
And we really feel like
that is a trend now. I have noticed this, the husband-wife team co-pastoring and both preaching.
Yeah, and we team teach, and the reason we do that is we felt like as God called us to Seattle, we were in Federal Way at a large church for over 25 years, and we transitioned to Seattle. And as we transitioned, and we felt the Lord's leading to really take the church, I started talking to Jen, and I said, I think we're supposed to do this together. I really feel like the Lord's calling us to model what a healthy heterosexual relationship looks like in the church. Because I also knew where we were going when Aurora is a significantly sexually distorted area.
Yeah, and that's kind of why we have you in to talk today about something called the Aurora Prayer Shield. And I've always found Foursquare denomination very entrepreneurial spirit, as you say, takes on lots of tough issues and a huge missionary church, too. Yeah, right. But we have a huge mission field right here in our area, and it's sort of like ground zero for human trafficking. It's kind of what we call prostitution now. But tell us a little bit about your outreach then to what's going on in the Aurora area. Tell us kind of the area this is.
Yeah, so this is the Aurora and 105th area, which is a significant area, not just for trafficking, but drug use, homelessness.
Like 105th to 125th.
Yeah, 105th to 125th, yeah. And so as pastors, when we arrived, I think Jen, she teed off to it a lot earlier than me and seeing what was going on.
Yeah, it broke my heart. I would go to Chick-fil-A to get my kids food, and you would just see ladies out there in the middle of the day just, propositioning cars as they drove by, waving at it. It almost seemed like a parade, and sometimes upwards of 20 to 30, maybe even more than that, at any point during the day. I've since had opportunity to meet with some of the ladies who work on the streets, and they've explained to me their strategy of when they go out and why they go out at that time.
It seems like it's become much more brazen. Yeah. And right, like you say, right in the middle of the day, I have to go down to the hospital down there on occasion, and my wife and I were just shocked.
Yeah, it's not policed. The police are what they don't want to do is, a lot of these ladies are victims. A lot of them are ran by pimps, and so the police do not want to victimize the women, which put us in this continuous place of they don't want to arrest the women, but we want to figure out how we can do something. And the problem is it's not a social problem, a social justice problem. It's not a behavioral problem. It's a spiritual problem. And so all the things that are out there to try to fix it, and you can talk to the community, and some people will say the way we need to fix it is by legalizing prostitution, when they forget that those women are victims, and then there's people who are saying we need to just start arresting the women, and you're same side of a different coin, So the reality is it is a spiritual problem.
And you've gotten a spiritual answer to this, something you call the Aurora Prayer Shield. Now, what's happening with this? What is the Aurora Prayer Shield?
Well, the Aurora Prayer Shield was really birthed out of a place of prayer. We observed and saw what was going on, and I remember going to a prayer meeting at our church that night, and I was asking the Lord. I could not focus because I had just experienced something and the burden of the Lord came on me. And I said, God, what do I do? What can we do? The problem is so big and so broad. We don't have a key to this lock. And I said, God, I need a key to the lock. And he said, he's only said this to me one other time that I can recall in my life. And he said, Stephen, I don't care what you do, just do something. And I remember sitting there that night going, okay. And I thought to myself, probably like every other human being, what is the simplest thing I can do to please God, of course, but to also to start to minister to such a broken area of our society. And so that night I said, Lord, what if we went and prayed once a month, sat in the parking lot of the most significant area, far enough away that we're safe, but close enough that we make a spiritual impact and that our hearts are moved. And so from that point, we partnered with another couple in our church, and we started going once a month, turned to once a week. It turned to more often than that. And we built this bookmark that we have and a sticker, and the sticker is a shield, and it just says Aurora. And we tell people, put it on your car so that we know that you're a praying people for Aurora. And the bookmark leads you through some prayer prompts and tells you how you can just sit in your car and pray. And that's how it started. And we partnered with a conference that came to town, a Next Gen Hispanic conference. They reached out to us and they said, we heard you got this Aurora prayer shield. We'd like to join you. And we're like, sure, how many people? And they said, we have 350 people.
Wow.
And their conference was in Bothell. And so we had to figure out a way to bus them. So we bused them into the North Seattle area.
All these young adults.
5 different locations. And we prayed and we prayer walked. And we didn't make it a
So you're out there kind of walking along with the parade of prostitutes too?
Yeah,
or what?
yes.
I would think that the pimps and the prostitutes probably don't take too kindly to that.
There's a general rule out there. I say this does not mean be careless, but the general rule is you don't mess with church people or old people. And so when they know it's actually good to say you're associated with a church. And we're very careful because we are not going there to pray against the people. We're going there to pray against the principalities and the darkness, right? And we're praying for the people. And so we generally say when they ask us why we're there, that we're there praying for the prosperity of Seattle and the people here. And so we have those interactions, and that's a general rule of what we say. We're also not trying to disrupt what they're doing. Number one, that can be dangerous not only for us, but for the women. And so we're not trying to get in the way of what's happening. We're allowing the Lord to do it.
And the Lord has done some interesting things. You were saying before we started recording, a lot of the hotels have been shut down.
After we did the prayer walk, and we did it June 30th, and it was probably just within a week or two.
2 weeks.
2 weeks after that, they closed down the 3 main hotels.
3 main hotels
that the ladies were operating out of, and it completely it was like overnight they were gone, which was a little eerie because we'd gotten used to them there, and and also I think at first, like, it hurt my heart a little bit because I've been praying for these ladies. I name them oftentimes if I haven't had contact with them, which I have had the opportunity to do that as well. But I name them and I'm praying for them. I don't want them run off to another state. I want to see them get saved and free. And so it was a little discouraging at first, but I really felt challenged by the Lord to trust him and what he's doing, because the problem is it's not just ladies, but there's a whole other thing. There's a temptation there. There's an instant gratification for people who are struggling. It's just, there's so much to it. It brings more drugs. It brings more homelessness. So there's so much more to it than just what we perceive. But almost overnight it was done. And they ended up moving a lot of those ladies to Portland. And the police department there contacted our North Seattle, which we have Pastor Steve does a Bible study with the police officers, and they asked the captain what happened. And
what's your secret?
Yeah, the captain said, we have people praying. We have people praying.
Wow.
And so the police department actually attributed that to the sudden change. It's still there. It's still rough. There's a lot of pimps. There's been some documentaries that just dropped recently that kind of showcase the struggles we still have, and that's why we're on the streets. We're on the streets praying.
Recently we had a couple of events. Number one, we did a graffiti removal and prayer walk on Aurora, and that had a significant impact in our community. A lot of times people want to see data and they want to see numbers shift, but as a pastor and a spiritual leader in my community, what I want to see is a spiritual shift.
Yeah.
Because there is a stronghold, there's a principality here in this Aurora corridor. And, a lot of people have been saying this for years, and we've heard this, and we saw the report that Seattle's dying. And for us, we felt like that God had given us this vision out of Ezekiel. And it's talking about the return of Jesus when he returns to the temple, that there will be a trickle of water that begins to flow out of the east gate of the temple and down into the Kidron Valley. And the farther that you get from the temple, this is the interesting aspect of this prophetic word, the deeper the water gets and the more life we see in that water. And so we've kind of come to this place that we're on a hill on 105th and Dayton, and we see our church kind of as this small place that there's this trickle of water going out. But as that trickle of water goes out 105th and it hits Aurora, we believe that it gets deeper and deeper. And the more that we interact with our community on Aurora, the more life we bring as a congregation. And then the more life that comes, Aurora is this arterial that goes right into Seattle. And we've been saying Seattle's dying. And I kind of see it like this, it says that water will flow into the Kidron. It gets deeper and deeper, and then it finally reaches the Dead Sea. And it turns the Dead Sea, which has no life, to fresh water. And life begins to teem in that new, fresh life. And so we believe, even as small churches, we actually have a responsibility and an impact. And sometimes we think our impact is too small because the numbers don't equate. But when we work for spiritual truths with spiritual results, we see a changed city.
Amen. The Aurora Prayer Shield, it's an outreach of Seattle Foursquare, and people want to find out more, maybe how they can get involved, get their church involved. Do you have a website or some kind of contact information?
SeattleFoursquare.org, and the Aurora Prayer Shield is right on our website. You can drill in, you can ask for more information, and we'd love to be in contact with you.
Okay, some of the heart of Steve and Jen McConnell, pastors at Seattle Foursquare. And again, more details about what they're doing in the Aurora area. It is a spiritual problem foundationally, and we need a spiritual answer. Aurora Prayer Shield is that answer, we think. More details again at SeattleFoursquare.org. Thanks, folks, for talking with us today.
Thanks for having us.
And another prayer walk is scheduled for this weekend, June 30th, Sunday, 12:30, several locations. Find out more about the prayer walk this weekend. Again, go to SeattleFoursquare.org. I'm Mark Holland. In moments, my life is in you, Lord, with Alleluia Worship Band. Right now, time for My Money Life.